recognize that it can be very frustrating to be in the dating, to be a person who genuinely wants a relationship, but you feel like it's the Hunger Games out there. I get it. And certainly, unlike 50 years ago, when you think about 50 years ago, or let's go back to the 1950s, most people met their life partner at church, at school, or at work. At church, at school, at work. That was or in the town that they lived in as well. That was the predominant place. Certainly, as a society, we've grown by 100 million people. No, probably we've grown by from I think back in 1960, 80 million. We've grown four times in that amount. We live more spread out lives. We're not, for those of us in midlife, and I say midlife is after baby making years and before retirement, our life, we're not surrounded by single eligible people. And I know it might be frustrating with dating apps because we have a flood of people, but at the same time, it gives you opportunity to connect to people you wouldn't otherwise meet. My now girlfriend and I met through a dating app. Now, you want to hear something funny about that? So, about a year before we physically met, we connect roughly about a year, maybe 9 months. We met on a dating app, Bumble. Okay. And we had an exchange. We text each other, but it just, for whatever reason, it fell by the wayside, like a lot of times they do. You're communicating with someone and it just never goes to the next level of a phone call. Okay. Fast forward about 3 months later, I saw her on Match.com and I recognized her and I said, "How's dating going for you?" I don't know why I said that, but that was my initial reaction to seeing her again. And she goes, "Oh, dating is great." And then for whatever reason, there was no follow-up after that. That was about 6 months before we met. And then 6 months later, she messaged me on Hinge. And I said, "Do you recognize me?" And she said, "Yeah, I kind of recognize you." And we started a dialogue. Finally, we exchanged phone numbers and we finally talked. Look, it took us 3 dating apps to get into the relationship we're in: Bumble, Match, and Hinge. So for those that say, which is the best dating app, I'd say Bumble, Match, and Hinge. Okay. So I just want you to know that unlike in the past, in the 1950s, where we're surrounded by single eligible people, dating apps create an opportunity for us to connect with people we wouldn't otherwise meet.